evening, not morning. And so welcome to Dualitea podcast. I'm your host, Ash. And I'm here with our special guest, Jason. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me on the show.
Of course,
Appreciate
of course. It. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into this topic today. I know we had a really great conversation about a lot of things.
Yeah, we went into a lot of different topics.
It was really good to catch up, I know we know each other from a different time of life, and then for us to reconnect and just kind of be on the same page about a lot of different things was super nourishing. I always find that really cool, when you haven't seen people in a while and then you talk and it's oh wow, we're on the same vibe though,
Yeah, it was really wonderful to know that after all the time that we had separated, coming back, we were able to discuss so many different things that really meant a lot, not only to me, but I'm sure to you as well.
For sure. Yeah. And which led us to the topic of presenting ourselves as we are, coming as we are into spaces, wherever we are, at whatever point we are, whether that's even to ourselves, and, that was kind of the way that we can have that grounding point of this conversation, simultaneously explore all of the other things that come up for us. And, I asked you the question, who are you at this time in life,
Yeah. When we first had that conversation, I just, kind of felt that I was just who I am. And I still feel that way, I am who I am, regardless of what others try to depict me as or perceive me as. I'm just myself, and whatever comes throughout the day throughout the weeks, throughout the months, years. I see myself as a collection of my experiences, and I try to move forward in my life through those experiences.
Yeah, that's a really eloquent way to put it. I feel I feel my answer was silly, but also real. In the way of I think I said something I'm a hot girl healing being at the moment, and what I mean by that is just I call it humans, human beings. Mm-hmm. I refer to children as beans. My niece, she's Lena Bean. Amelia, I don't call her Amelia Bean, I just call her Bean.
Well, y'all have to sprout at some point.
Yeah.
The beans do sprout and they grow more. So
beans sprout. Yeah, dimensional things. A friend of mine literally says that to me all the time. But yeah, so so it's a reason I said that is just because I joke around and I say it's a hot girl healing summer. I say that I didn't say it last year, but I initiated it the year before, and it certainly was, right. And I feel it's that again, but in a different way. And that's where I've currently been feeling in my life. I feel this theme of my life is embodiment to the application of all that I know. And to let that kind of create this metamorphosis of who I am and who I see myself being, and giving grace to the space in between, and the awkward haircut in between, and the fluctuation of weight, and skin stuff, and all these different things that come up in the in-betweens of who we are and who we strive to be.
I feel that's where the authenticity comes through, because a lot of the time we try to present ourselves in a certain way for other people, and that does take a lot of energy when you're spending so much time trying to be a version of yourself that really isn't authentic to who you are.
Absolutely.
And when you look at yourself in that way and you say, you know what, regardless of what I'm going through, how I'm feeling, I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be authentic to who I am. Eventually, all the right things, kind of fall into place for you, at least in my opinion. From my own experiences, I've seen that when I do present myself in a way where okay, I'm being this version of myself because I'm around a certain group of people, or because I'm dealing with, another thing, I'm not really being authentic to who I am. And I want to be that version of myself who is authentic. I want to grow from who I am. I want to know, regardless of what people tell me, regardless of the things that I've been through, all that, it's an accumulation that I've built up and learned from, and really be able to use that to my best advantage moving forward in any situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's imperative to, you know, to honor ourselves like that, to be like, yeah, like this is what I feel like I deserve for myself, to present myself just authentically rather than to like conform to what I imagine people to want out of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's like, it's a lot easier said than done, because like you can be a person that's like defiant, you know, of social norms and things like that, and still find yourself like people pleasing for the people that you love, you know, or you think you love, or whatever the case is, you know, and it's just like getting honest with yourself about that,
Mm-hmm.
despite like any uncomfortable feelings that come up with that being a reality, and like having to like navigate through it, I find has been like my medicine to be able to actually, you know, present myself fully. Like it's like I don't feel like I wasn't presenting myself authentically, like I wasn't like making myself someone else, but I was stunting myself. Like I was like putting myself in a cage, like
Yeah, almost like
a
boxing
limit.
yourself in.
Yeah, like putting a ceiling there, because like every time I would exceed that limit, it would make everyone else uncomfortable around me. And it's like, you know, when you're in that, or you're committed to that, it could definitely leave you feeling indifferent, because you know you don't want to even have to deal with that, in the way of like, okay, I know if I communicate too much in this area, in this space, like that people aren't going to be open to that. Like they're not going to be the most, it's not going to be the most optimal situation. It's going to get uncomfortable, because they might not be able to meet me where I'm at. So instead of like, which funny enough, like the earlier I was on Maker Park Radio with Kimbra, shout out to Kimbra and Frequencies, and having me on that show. And we did a show on breakup songs, like it's a radio show, so like people submitted breakup songs, but then there was like some segments where we were speaking, and something that Kimbra said was like, you know, acceptance. Like acceptance is so important in relationships, like whether it's a breakup or whether it's like initiating a relationship, like the acceptance of one another. And it's like, well, how can you accept someone if they aren't presenting themselves as they are? You know, how can you accept yourself if you're not presenting yourself as you are, which is what tends to lead to breakups. Like it's like, because you're one or both of those things are happening and there's not acceptance of it, you know. And then there's the flip side of that, where if you're starting something new and it's scary, or you know, whatever the case is, like just accepting yourself, like, am I being as authentic to myself in this situation at this time? And it's like, you know, you can only do that by being in the present moment. And I feel like I never regret when I'm like just authentic to myself. Like if I go back on everything, like, you know, even if it's cringy, like I'm like, okay, but like, that was as authentic to myself as I could be in that moment. And like, I can accept it, you know. I feel like I was on another interview. There's a really dope local podcast called Chatting with Ant, and like our episode's gonna come out next week, and we just recorded it on Sunday. And like there was moments where, because like I was being interviewed as myself, about myself, and like I haven't done one of those in a little bit. The last one I did was actually with Kimbra as well. And like after, I was like, especially because it's pre-recorded, I was like, I could have definitely, like, should I message him and be like, you know, if you want to cut that out, like, you could go ahead and definitely do that, you know. And then I was just like, nah, like it's fine. Like let him do his creative process. Don't even tamper with it. Just put your prayer out there, you know, like to be received as where you were at. Like that's it. Like it wasn't anything serious too. I was just like, oh, like why was I talking about like certain things in high school? But it's like, oh, okay, of course, because like I was asked like, where did you come from? What was your upbringing like? Stuff. So like that's a part of it. You know, but then I like, you know, the judgment comes in, the critical thinking of like, well, how are people going to perceive me?
But I also feel like that comes from, you know, having this idea of what others, you know, think of you. And to be honest, we're not in other people's heads. So a lot of the time we don't really know what other people are thinking of us.
Absolutely.
And I recently had me and my friend, and you know, sometimes friendships can feel like, you know, relationships, because they are relationships in a way.
Sure.
But like me and my boy, like we actually had to go through some kind of, like he wanted to express himself in a certain way, and at first I couldn't accept it because I was like, we're supposed to be brothers, like we're supposed to be homies, like it's just supposed to be like me and you, like why are you acting this way? And then I had to take it into understanding and be like, you know what, like you're being authentic to yourself and you're coming to me and being honest with me, even though you know there's a possibility that I'm going to get upset about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I appreciate that because I've told him from the start, like, bro, I just want you to be honest with me. Just be straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can't do something, you can't do it. That's fine. Like, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to be, mad at you. And I did find myself getting judgmental and angry. And I was like, why am I doing that? Like, he came to me in an honest way. And honestly, it felt like almost like a breakup at the moment that we were talking about it. And then
I feel that.
When we finally got the chance to sit down and have a conversation one-on-one with one another, we came to this understanding, and it was like, you know what, like, you need to understand your own process and live your own life. And, like, we can still be good. Like, there's no issue in that. The fact that you even came to me, like, you came all the way to, like, because I live in Brooklyn, so he came all the way to Brooklyn and just, like, sat in my room with me, and he was like, dude, like, I care about you, and I don't want you to feel like I'm abandoning you. I don't want you to feel like I'm leaving or anything like that. I just, like, I need to do things my own way. Mm-hmm. And I had to understand that, and I did after a little bit. And it's made our friendship a lot deeper, and I feel like a lot of the times that gets skewed, especially with relationships, because in a relationship you have certain expectations. Yeah. And I realized that in a lot of my previous relationships, people had a lot of expectations of me, and I couldn't really fit those roles all the time. As much as I wanted to, as much as I tried, I just couldn't fit those roles because that wasn't, like, authentic to who I was. Yeah. So trying to be something that they wanted me to be really caused a lot of conflict, and you know, that's where that breakup comes in, because it's like, you know, if we're not going to be able to work together on things, we shouldn't be eating at each other all the time.
Absolutely. And I think it takes it takes a lot to get yourself to the place that, like, all right, stop. Like like to stop it, to be like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I don't want to go for this, like, it becomes this, like, internal fight that you fight before you even say anything outside of yourself. Mm-hmm. So, like, you're already like, oh God, like, I know if I even do this, it's going to be this outcome, which you don't know. But, like, you can judge from the circumstances that you had before, like, realistically. Like, mm-hmm. you know, I'm big on, like, yeah, no expectations, but at the same token, like, you can't stop the past from, like, being something that does repeat itself if you allow it to, you know? So it's like you take heed to that, you know, but then to then not do it because of that is where it gets sticky. And I feel like I kept on finding myself do that in certain situations where I was like, is it worth it? Like, I really feel like I need to say this, but, like, is it worth it? Like, am I just going to be like, is it just going to be like a 2-hour fight of nothing?
Oh, yeah.
Of
definitely.
like, no, you know, like, it's like, what, you know, like, why? And then, like, I would opt to not do it like 70% of the time. And then, like, the 30% of the time that I did do it would be like, why are you always doing this? And I'm like, always doing this?
Yeah, and it's crazy to me because it's like, you know, I've sat here this whole time debating on whether or not I should do it. And, you know, most of the time I wouldn't have done it. But now that I did do it, now it's, oh, you're always doing this. It's always a problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and create a fight with somebody over what I've decided to do with myself and who I decide to be. Now, the two of us can get along in a sense if, you know, there's an understanding and an acceptance between the both of us, you know. And I feel like that's why I am very grateful of a lot of my friends, because even though we are, you know, difficult, and I could say that I'm difficult, you know, some of my other friends, they're pretty difficult to deal with. But it's not difficult in the sense that I don't want to deal with them. It's just difficult in the sense that, like, we have to have those difficult conversations. We have to be honest with each other. We have to be open with each other. We have to accept that one another is a completely separate being. Yeah. We're all humans, but we're all separate.
There's a lot of moving parts to each person. Like, it's like it's even though it's, like, uncomfortable or difficult, it's simple. Mm-hmm. That's what I think finds the peace. Is like, I'd rather something be complex but have simple solutions than something be simple with complex solutions.
I feel like we add complexities to simple solutions because, you know, we do think about those things a lot, especially when it pertains to others and how others are going to perceive us and, you know, how they're going to look at us. Because it's like, if I do this thing and a mass majority of people don't like the thing that I'm doing, am I a bad person? Am I doing the wrong thing? Like, should I stop doing that? And in a sense, it's like, no, be authentic to who you are because the right people will accept those things about you. Now, if it's a toxic thing, obviously that might be something that you want to stop.
You want to show, like, weigh it out. That's up to you.
Exactly.
Like, you got to figure that out.
Weigh it out and see, like, you know, is it worth the time that you're putting into it? And I feel like when it's worth it, you kind of know because you're like, I do care enough to know that this, you know, let's say something is making another person uncomfortable. If you care enough about that person, you'll weigh it in your own head first, and you can have that discussion with them, even if it's going to be difficult, even if it's going to be a little hard. Absolutely. You can have that conversation and say, listen, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. I would prefer and I would hope that you accept me, being that you are my friend, my girlfriend, my mom, my dad, whoever. I would hope that you accept me for my choices in my life rather than trying to fight with me about it. Now, if we're going to fight about it, you know, we can go our separate ways. We can do our own, you know, separate things, and we don't have to focus on this thing.
What about when people agree to that, but then they don't do it?
I think that also is a struggle because sometimes, you know, you want to do the thing that you're saying that you're doing, you know. And it's funny because I was actually listening to this song today. I think it's called Always Do by the Kid Laroi. And sometimes, like, it was like really hitting me today because I was like, you know, the song, he's basically saying, like, he's been telling his ex-girlfriend that, like, he's going to change and that he's going to do, like, things. And one of the lines is pretty much like, oh, I told you I wasn't going to drink, but I did it the exact same day. And, you know, pretty much what he's saying is, like, as much as I would love to do what you're asking me to do, like, it's better that I just lie to you about it and do it behind your back than to be straight up because it's too difficult and I'm just trying to protect you. And it hit me because in the past I've done that, you know, where it's like, as much as I would love to do the thing that, like, someone's expecting me to do, I'd rather just, like, keep my mouth shut about it and do what I'm going to do regardless of what they have to say to me.
Why?
I think because in the past it was hard for me to accept that other people, you know, had certain opinions of me, and I didn't want to be perceived in a negative light. More, not even that I cared to be perceived, like, negatively. It was more that I didn't want the people that I cared about getting hurt. I didn't want them to think that, like, I didn't care about what they said to me.
So if you felt like that's not, like, where you were at or able to do that thing, then why agree to it?
I think because I felt like I had an obligation to. And, you know, when you feel obligated to do something, it leaves a heavier weight, I feel. At least on me, it definitely feels like it's a lot heavier when you have
the pressure, like, the expectation, the assumption that this is what you have to do without the space to be like, I'm actually not ready to do that. Yeah. I think that happens a lot, you know, regardless of gender. I think that happens a lot for a lot of people. You know, they want to be able to commit to something, but they're actually not ready. And I think that in that moment when it takes a lot of courage to then be like, actually, I'm not ready. Yeah. And to, like, say that. I think that should be definitely a focus on people that go through that aspect of the struggle. I mean, like, it's like for some people, it's more of a, I feel like more people can contain it more, like fake it more, like suppress it more, you know. I feel like at certain times with certain things, I could agree that I could have definitely done that, definitely did do that, you know, in certain ways. I feel like as I've gotten older, it's so visceral to me that if something isn't resonating with me, like, it oozes out of my pores. like it oozes out of my pores. Like I might as well just say it because it's so pronounced in the space. Like you can taste it, you can smell it. Like it exists as like a whole other thing in between you and I. Like that I'm like, I might as well just talk about it, you know? And, you know, nothing's better or greater or less than it's just, I genuinely wanted to know your answer because like I've experienced a lot of that done to me personally, that I'm healing from, because it's like an unintentional gaslighting, you know, it's an unintentional, you know, lying.
I'm not gonna lie, like a lot of it, the reason why I would do it more often in the past was because I had it done to me. And I didn't realize that was like not okay. I like, you know, now that I'm, you know, 22 and like I've been through enough experiences to know that like I'd rather just tell you how I'm feeling. I'd rather just be honest with myself and say like, listen, I don't want to do that, or I don't feel like this is for me. I'd rather do that now. But back when I was like, you know, 15, 16, 17, I felt like I had like this heavy obligation, like that if I didn't just say what you wanted to hear, like that it was going to come back and like hurt me. And that's because it had, you know, if I didn't do what others had expected of me, I would get hurt in the past a lot of the time because, you know, I was never really comfortable just being me a lot of the time. And I did have a lot of people that took advantage of that fact and knew, hey, he's not comfortable just saying no. He's not comfortable just being like, you know what, this isn't for me. So they would take their time and
take advantage of it.
And they would gaslight and they would, you know, say things to me that would really get under my skin. And then when it was finally like my turn, I did it back, and it did not feel good. I really did not like when I would do it.
I was like subconscious at that point, right? Like kind of like the perpetuation of trauma, you know, when sometimes when it comes out, we don't even realize that it's coming out in that way. We're just like doing, and then but then once you realize, and then it's like that much more shameful that then you either continue to do it because you're in a shame spiral, because you don't know how to get yourself out. Because you're like, well, if I admit it, then that means that I have to admit to like everything. Like,
it's almost like it's almost like a pride thing. It's like, hey, like
it definitely is for
like
sure.
my ego's gonna take a hit if I just admit this. So like, let me not.
And the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being chosen. Then like, well, then I won't be accepted as who I am. It's like trying to manipulate being accepted as who you are when it's not who you are.
But I feel like you're never really gonna gain full connections with people, and I knew that in the past. Like I didn't know that back then. I know that now, but like back then I didn't realize that like that was a form of manipulation because I wanted people to see me a certain way. I wanted to be perceived a certain way. And that's just because I saw other people being perceived a certain way, and I wanted to be perceived in the same way that they were. And I was like, why would I do that to myself? Why would I allow that to be, you know, who I want to be or who I am going to be? So that's why I take it now as I am going to be who I am. I'm going to be authentic to who I am. I'm going to express myself in the best way that I know how to. If I can't do something, I'm just going to say it because I don't want to ever feel like, first of all, there's an obligation there. And second of all, if there is an obligation, I want to make it known that it shouldn't. I need to have that choice.
Yeah, you have a choice, and you're not abandoning yourself.
Exactly.
You know? And then the thing that's so beautiful about that is that the more you are that, the more you actually attract what's for you. And whoever or whatever or wherever is for you will become so intensely apparent that it's like, oh, this makes so much sense and this is so easeful. Like, this job actually makes so much sense for me. Like, these friend groups make so much sense for me. Like, this person romantically makes so much sense. Like, everything is like peace. Like, it might not be perfect. It might not be what you imagine it to be or imagined it to be or whatever the case is, regardless of whatever category, you know. But then you accept that it is for you because of the way you feel, not the way it looks, not the way, like, all those other things can just be like a plus, you know. It comes back to like how you feel when you're experiencing life when you are just being authentically you. Like I had an experience the other day. I was working this event for Cinco de Mayo. Like I do like a bunch of different like, you know, odd jobs, and I was like working one of those events. And after that I had went out and like, you know, I had a drink, and like whether or not I had the drink or not, like I was just on this timing all day. Like there was the part where I was at a certain venue and I didn't have a drop of alcohol. And then there was the other part where I was at a venue and I did have a drop of alcohol for sure. And like, and when, but the thing is in both spaces, like I was so authentically myself that it was just like the only people that I was able to actually have conversation and hold conversation with were people who were authentically showing up for themselves in that moment. It's like, excuse me, it's like a magnet. It's a magnetism that you have to yourself that like you see the people that are intimidated to speak to you because of whatever, you know, you don't have to project in their mind what
feel
they're
like
experiencing.
A lot of that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel
okay.
like a lot of that is, you know, when you show up for yourself, there is no longer a fear of abandonment because you know that you have your own back. And that was, you know, something that I had to learn growing up because, you know, when I was younger, I didn't feel like anybody had my back. And then, you know, looking back at like me, I was like, damn, I always had my own back. Even when I didn't, I had my own back.
That reminds me of an Angel. Do you know who Angel Hayes is?
I actually haven't.
Okay.
No.
This is a person you should definitely listen to. I need to find the song. She's like, "'Cause I'm myself even when I ain't myself." Like, and like, oh, it's called Trust Issues. It's only on YouTube because it's a cover of Drake's song, Trust Issues by Angel Hayes. Like, that song, that energy, matching right there. I just like filed it in my brain. But like, yeah, no, it's so real. Like, I remember hearing that. I remember being like 17, like hearing that song and hearing that part, and like the whole song slaps. Like she's a Cancer, first of all. Like we're going that deep, you know? And like, and then she says that, and I'm like, that's true, cause it's like, cause she's like, yeah, like I'm even me when I'm not myself, like, and it's like, what does that mean, right? And it's like what we were talking about in the car, like, even little bean versions of ourselves, like, was spitting. Like, they had some wisdom.
Yeah, no, when
but did we listen?
No, I definitely can look at myself from back then, and I'm like, you know, when I see those old Snapchat videos of myself, like, giving myself those advices, like I said in the car, it's just like, dude, you were like, if I would have just listened to you and stopped listening to all the people around me, I wouldn't have gotten myself into so many, like, messed up situations that I could have easily, like, avoided.
Ain't that the truth? Like, I feel like any situation that I've been in that's been, like, so overtly not for me it was due to listening to other people. Listening to what, like, they thought I should do. Like, and listen, it doesn't mean that people don't have the best interest for you, but they're not you. Like, they're not you. They don't know what's optimal for you because only you do. And that requires a certain amount of being honest with yourself. Now, if you're completely not honest with yourself, maybe some people know a little bit better than you. But, like, that just means you got to be honest with yourself. And then so that you can then show up for yourself in that way. Because even with that, even if they know a little better than you, they still don't know what is exactly for you. So that could just continue to be confusing. That could continue to be, like, a whole thing that, like, that could be avoided. Really, like, it could be a whole side quest that you just really didn't have to go on. You got all the chips that you needed. You were going to fill up on all of your weapons.
A wild goose chase.
Like, yeah, like, you just, like, completely went off on the side. Like, you ever play Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, like, you play Tomb Raider, like, there's the missions. You play the missions, you could win the game, right? But then it'll be like, all right, you have, like, 60% of the game left. You know, it's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like,
all the side missions.
It's like all the side missions. But then there's the side missions that, like, are just, like, you don't need to do them at all.
There's no reason for it. You're not really getting anything out of it.
Yeah,
it's
you just
like,
talk to the people in the town. Like, yeah, you might get little things here and there. Like you're always going to get something. Like, you're always, no matter what, you're always going to get something, just like in the game. Like, you're always going to get something, whether it's, like, a new craft so you can make a new weapon or, like, you know, something, like, but you already got to, but, you know, it's just an addition.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to ask yourself, okay, well, do I want to, like like how I view it and why I always correlate it with video games is because like I truly feel like games are reflections, like games in the way of like not like oh I'm playing games with you, but like in the way of like literal games, like
Video games.
are video games, chess, like all of these different things, like they are mirroring like how we go about life. You know, like do you take risks? Are you a person who gets like too excited and then like fucks everything up, or like are you someone that takes too much time, you don't take enough risks, so like you never actually move things around and the next thing you know like checkmate, you know, like or are you going tit for tat? Like how do you respond to like your environment and whatever it is around you? And like I feel like people can learn a lot from playing games. I feel like people can learn a lot about themselves if they choose to look at it from that perspective.
My older brother actually used to be on a chess team when he was back in like middle school or high school. I can't remember. But he would play chess with me, and he would like basically be psychoanalyzing me throughout the whole chess game. And then after the chess game, he would just sit there and be like, what's up with you? And I'd be like, what do you mean? He's like, you were playing differently. And I'm like, how did you figure that? He's like, the way you play chess,
That's
you
me,
can
bro.
read people.
Yeah. I was literally just in Life Cafe. I want to start offering readings, like intuitive readings, but like playing chess. I want to start offering that. I was just saying that because it's like I love chess. It's one of my favorite games. I was taught how to play that when I was a child. Like I asked my dad, I was like, Dad, can you teach me how to play chess? He's like, yeah. And like, I used to love it because like we used to stay up and play it. And that was like just our time me to like learn and like. And he would tell me things like, you know, life is like chess. Like life is like chess. The way you play chess is the way you play life. Like the way you live life. You know. And I was like, you know, I was a kid. I was like still single digits. Like I was like, yeah, whatever. All right. Like I want to win. Like so, how do I do that? You know.
No, I felt the same way because I'm like, my older brother. You know, me and him. You know, we butt heads because we're brothers. You know.
Yeah. Siblings in general.
So you know, when he would like sit there and like talk to me throughout like chess game, even now he asked me to play chess with him, and sometimes I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that because like you're gonna learn a little too much about me, and I don't need that right now. I don't need my brother psychoanalyzing me. I'm sorry.
I feel that. I get that. You know, I mean, I can't. I wish there's a day that I could feel that way towards like someone else doing it to me, but like I'm usually the person doing that, so I can get his point of view, but. Yeah, you know, it's just interesting because like once you give you pay attention, you give like perspective on different things. Like everything you can scry, everything becomes intuitive. The same way someone walks, the way they talk, the way they present themselves. If you really want to, you could read anything. You know, it's just a matter of like what you gravitate towards, what your abilities allow you to, or like what you've cultivated or practiced in order to become aware of these different things. Most importantly, like taking those same practices and focusing it inward to ourselves. Like, yeah, like I can sit here and read everybody in the world, but if I can't read myself, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with the grace of like, you know, tarot card readers, we can't read ourselves, you know, like, cause it's not like we can't, it's that like, we're almost like not allowed. It's funny the way it comes up, but like you can to a certain, like I could pull cards of like what's around me or what's for like, but it can't be like if I were to give myself the same reading like I would give you, it's just gonna twist me up. It's just gonna be like, what? Like it won't make sense. Like it literally won't make sense. And then I'm like, oh, and then like one person could just pull a card for me and it'll just be like everything in that one card. And I'm like, okay, all right, you know, but you need no one to surrender. And that's the same thing that we need to do with ourselves. Like we can sit here and know all of the bad things about ourselves. We can know all of it. But just knowing that is just going to twist us up.
Yeah.
You know, we need to also know what's good about ourselves. And then if we only know what's good about ourselves, then that could twist us up too. Like we need to have balance. Like we need to be able to be like, okay, that's why it's important to bounce things off. It's not, you know, we're not saying all of this to be like, oh, you can't talk to people and you can't take anyone's advice on anything. But it's like you have to take your own, like to a certain regard and a certain respect within yourself, like to stand firm and like, you yourself as a viable source, like that can be there, like just as you view other people as a viable source. Because once you view other people as more of a source than you, like you're handing your power to them. Like, and you got to be mindful with who you do that because some people are sitting there waiting for it. They're happy to collect it,
100%.
and then you're left deprived because you put all your faith and all your chips into that one person at one time, the one saying, and like, you know, just being mindful with how you handle that and how you handle yourself in matters of of what it is you feel you need to do and what you need to show up for yourself with. Because like I said, you know, like you said, like just people have the best intentions and it could still fuck you up if you don't bounce it off of yourself.
Yeah. Something that I could say off of that is that the same friend that I had that, you know, kind of understanding with, we tell each other all the time, like, you know, we talk to each other a lot, especially like when it comes to like giving each other advice and stuff. But every time we talk, we make sure to tell each other, like, listen, I'm not you. So whatever I'm telling you is coming from my own experiences, and I'm just giving you what I've learned through my experiences. Now you can take what you know matters to you and what fits into your life, what resonates for you.
Yep.
Everything else, leave it behind. You know, I'm just giving you some good, you know, some good tea to drink.
You need contrast because like even like I think I said this on a podcast recently, or I had it in a conversation recently, where it's like, you know, sometimes when you just like, you're like, should I wear this outfit or should I wear this outfit? And then everyone will be like, oh, I think you should wear that outfit. And then you still wear the opposite outfit that they asked because you just needed to know that you wanted to actually wear the other one. Like, it's like you flip a coin because you don't know what you want to do. And then when the coin's in the air, you're like, oh, I hope it lands on heads because that's what I want. Then it doesn't matter what it lands on because you know what you want. Yeah. You know, so like do those exercises. And instead of giving all your power to the cards, to the coin, to everyone else, like give it to that moment of contrast that you receive that actually brings clarity to what you want, what the outcome is that you want.
What I do now a lot of the time is I write. Like I have a bunch of journals, but I recently started like typing things out on my laptop. Cool. And I kind of just like allow myself to just like go for it. Like I don't even think about like, oh, what's the topic going to be? Like, what are we going to write about? No, it's just today and then it just keeps going. And that's really been very helpful for me because, you know, it kind of gives me a sense of like reading what's in my head, you know? And it's like, as much as like anybody else could tell me what's going on and like can, you know, see from an outsider's point of view what's going on with me, I know what's going on with me up here. I know what's going on with me in here. And when I put it on, you know, a paper or I put it down in my laptop, I don't think about what I'm going to say. I just kind of let it flow out.
Without judgment.
And when I get the chance to read it back to myself, I'm like, you know what? Like, this is how I actually feel about things. And then when I bounce it off of other people, I try to get like a broader perspective of it because I want to understand like not only an outsider's point of view, but my own point of view because I want to know like how I feel about things. Yeah. I want to be, authentic to myself. I want to be okay with my own opinion.
And we need that. Like, that's why in you know, in our lineage and things of that sort, like we had talking circles. You know, we had talking circles where we would meet and we would discuss different things. Like, you know, the men had talking circles, women had talking circles, you know, we had community circles, like, and that was to present these things. It's not to get all the answers. It's to get clear, to share thoughts, like even just like talking to somebody who's like-minded with you, you know, talking to somebody who's not like-minded with you. Like both of those situations will bring you clarity if you allow it to. If you get out of your own head thinking that it needs to be a certain way and like be rigid about it, like, you know, you can gain something in everything. And it's just a matter of like what is optimal. Because you can be in a job that you're getting things out of and like it's good, you know, and you can settle for it. You can be like, this is good, this meets my needs and this does what it does. But then another part of you could be like, oh well, you know, maybe this isn't what I want to do in the long run. But like you're like, I'm willing to settle though. Like I can settle for it because like I know I'm gonna have stability, right? And then people do the same thing in relationships. You know, people do the same thing even with friendships. Where they're like, nah, but like I know I can always call this person. So even though like every time I talk to them, I feel like completely drained and tapped out, like I know that I can call them because they're accessible. What is pivoting that and making it look authentic will definitely clean up and defrag your computer of your human. You know, like you'll certainly do that. And because why are you gonna have, you know, like an outdated version playing on your system?
I feel like we conform to comfortability. You know, when we get comfortable with things and like we know the outcome already, there is no unknown to what you're doing. It makes it a lot easier to deal with because it's like, okay, I already know all the ins and outs of this. Like it's no longer a maze. Now it's just a hallway with a door at the end of it. I can always just walk down the hallway and open the door.
Yeah.
Whereas starting something new, or like, you know, doing these things for yourself to like clear out, you know, the pathways, it's like, well, now you've just turned that hallway back into a maze. And now you have to figure out how to get back to that door, because, you know, now you are starting something new. And I think a lot of people are scared to get into that. And then not all the time, because I feel like a lot of people love starting new things, but like at the same time, when you have something that you're comfortable with, and
you gain more confidence in it rather than like something that's new. But it depends on what it is. You know, like me, I love mazes. So mazes make me excited. So like, therefore, like I feel like when I was younger, you know, I never looked at myself as being a person who had like commitment issues. I never considered that in myself because I'm like such a like extremely loyal person, like annoyingly, and like to the point that like, and why I say that is because it's not annoying. It's just that when I was younger, I would abandon myself over like choosing like loyalty, which made me change the trajectory of like what do I actually consider loyal, which made me like I don't feel like I am that way anymore. I am a loyal person, but most of all, I'm loyal to myself. And like that I love for me. But
I definitely felt
when
that.
I refer to my younger self, I'm like, oh, you're so loyal. This stupid thing is because I would abandon myself for the construct of what I thought loyalty was. All that to say, I always want to change things. Like I like certain things to be the same. Don't get me wrong. Like I go to certain restaurants, I get the same thing all the time. I don't want it to be different because it's delicious. I want that. You know, but like when it comes to things in life, like I, you know, I'm a 5, like I'm born on the 5th, like that's 5 is all about change, you know, and it's ruled by Mercury. It's the communicative aspect, and it's all about just changing things. Like I truly feel like my medicine as a being is like to constantly create change. So like I need to be like met with that energy, or else like it's not good for anybody, right? Because like people are trying to make hallways when I need mazes to feel good. I need a maze to feel stimulated in my being. But like if I don't have a maze where I need a maze to be, everything becomes a maze, which is not good for anybody. It's not good for me. It's not good for anybody. Like I need hallways. I need clear hallways too. But I need to have mazes, like, and when people just like hallways, like, and they don't like mazes,
a balance of the two.
Yes, I like a balance of both, and like, and if someone erases any like sense of that complexity or like that excitement in learning new things, not knowing what's around the corner, that comfortability actually it makes me lose myself because. It's unrealistic. It's sheltered.
Yeah.
In fact, it's deprivation. It's not organic. It's like
a curated creation that's like out of the perception of like what you think others should like. What others would want it to be, yeah.
It's like a force field. It's a cage. It's a lot of things, and I don't think that it's malice. I think it comes from a place of like. I think it wants to come from a good place, but it actually comes from. It
wants to
fear.
Come from like security, but it's also
but it
like
comes from fear. Yeah.
I'm afraid that if I don't give you this security, you're gonna fall apart. So like I have to put you in a box.
Yep. Which is not trust, and which is not love, because that's not authentic. That's not honoring the other person authentically. Because if you genuinely feel like that person can't provide like their bare minimum things that they need to do for themselves to be stable and secure and safe within themselves, then like, why are you with them, or like, why are you around them? Because you can't trust them. You don't trust them.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to like protect them in a really intense way. That's coming from fear. That's rooted in fear. And like sometimes neither parties can see that until after, you know?
I feel like that happened to me a lot, is that like not only would I put myself in the box, I would allow others to put me in the box too, because I was like, you know.
You're right, this is safe.
I am a Pisces, so, you know, like I do feel other people's feelings. So like when I would feel other people's energies around me and they were like, you know, they were feeling the not safe energy, I would put myself in that container, and I would describe it as like I'm in a container at the bottom of the ocean. And like as much as I'm scratching to try and get out, like it's built so perfectly that like I can't, So like eventually I just stopped fighting it.
Yeah.
And I just sat in that box for a long time. And it would really cause a lot of issues because I wouldn't even fight to get out of the box anymore. Like I would just kind of conform to what people wanted
Just
me.
submit to it.
And yeah, I would be in like that submission form, and I would just be like, you know what, like it's fine, do what you want, it's fine.
Yeah,
do
it's
what
fine.
you want.
I'm so extra anyway. Like this is normal. This is what normal is. Like this is what I should be okay with. Like,
Yeah, I
this is
I
for
should
the
be
best.
normal.
Yeah, this is what's actually good for me, right? Like, and
Mhm.
then that's when you think like because of all those years of people telling you this is what's good for you. This
Oh
is
yeah,
what's
I
not
know
good
what's
for
good for you. I know what's better for you. You're not
Yeah.
doing enough for yourself, and it's like eventually like I'm 22 now, and like now I'm like, you barely even know me. How do you know what's good for me? Like you just met me like a couple months ago, and you're trying to tell me how to live my life, even though I've been in my own head for 22 years.
Yep.
Like, don't do that. Like, and not in like a you know, malicious kind of way, like a
Nah,
like
and like
back the hell up. But it's more like
a self-respect thing. Like, don't even go there. How do you think you know me better than me?
like respect me enough as a person, because I respect you and know that like if you feel something for yourself, I'm gonna respect that.
Yeah.
So if you can't respect me on that level, like why are we even like interacting? Why are we
Yeah.
friends? Like why are we
Canoodling.
dealing with each other in a certain way?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like now, you know, I'm like I'm tired of being in that box. And I think I explained this to you when we had that phone call. It's like I don't want to live for everybody else's expectations of me anymore. I just want to be me. I want to be authentic to who I am. I want to be happy with who I am. And don't get me wrong, of course, you know, if people have good advice, I'll take it. But
You consult with you first.
exactly.
And you consult with you last.
Mm-hmm. I'm always gonna be the one that I go to at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
When the doors close and there's no one else around and I'm at home in my room, I'm the one that I have to deal with, and I have to deal with the consequences of whatever choice I decide to make, regardless of what any advice has been given to me, regardless of how many people tell me to go this way, to go that way. I have to deal with those consequences. So I choose to make the choice myself so that I know I'm responsible for this. I'm responsible for the choice that I made. I'm responsible for how I react. And I think that not only is respecting myself, it's respecting others, because it's never like I no longer put that on anybody else. I no longer say like, oh, it's your fault or it's somebody else's fault as to why I couldn't get somewhere. I did it myself. I made that choice. So if I couldn't do it, it was because I decided I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
If I can do it, it's because I decided I can do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cheers to that. Cheers to showing up for ourselves and for being ourselves, man. Yeah. All that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Like, chef's kiss. That was great. For real. Like that, like I feel like, you know, when you're talking about the car, like the time capsule.
Mm. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be good for not only you guys but for us too. You know?
Look back and to hear that, like that was very profound, and I feel like that tied so many things together, and yeah, you know, it's just like why not be you? Like what's looking for you can't find you if you're not you.
Mm-hmm.
Like well, you notice once you be you, and whatever's looking for you is knocking on your door.
I think having that consult with yourself is probably the best thing that you can do for yourself. And again, it does come down to respecting who you are.
Yeah. Because
it's like, regardless of how people feel, regardless of the circumstances going on in your life, you are, I would say to a lot of people, you are your own God. And not in like a, you know, like, oh, we're all, you know, like, I feel like we're all a part of the universe. We're all a part of God. We're all a part of like, you know, a collective that understands more than we do. Mm-hmm. And you have to look within.
Yeah.
And you have to know and be proud of who you are on the inside, and just say like, if I'm going to respect others, I have to respect myself first.
Absolutely. The inside and the outside. You're your own creator, you know, and it's, I know people get funky when it's like the word God, you know, even though it's giving Pisces, it's giving Aquarius, you know what I mean? But it's okay because like those are signs that are necessary to give, right? You know, to be able to create your own reality, you need to come into that awareness, but you also still need to fit between the door frame, right? So it's just about grounding yourself with that, with gratitude. Like, oh my goodness, I get to create this. Oh my goodness, I get to destroy this.
Being flexible in it. You know, again, having that balance.
And that comes with training, because you can't just drop it low into a split off the rip after not stretching. You got to stretch. You got to put the dedication and the time into that. So that goes with everything. You can't just go out and like, yeah, you can go out and just create, but like it won't be what you want. It might be sort of kind of almost a little bit missing that when you're not grounding it in gratitude, when you're not grounding it in authenticity of like what you actually need. Because in fact, you realize that the times that you actually curate that and call that in is usually when you're like not even trying, like you're trying to, but you're not even trying to. Like, at least for myself, things that I've noticed is like when certain things start to manifest in my life, it's like the prayers that I had put out like years ago, you know, not like the moments that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to like create this and this is what I want. Like, you know what I mean? Like that forceful energy, that like controlling energy, you know, like that, like, yeah. Like, it's like, you could believe it. And like, yes, we can like, but like that really like, yo, like, this is what I want. I deserve it. Like, in my opinion, you know, it comes back in like a way that like, you're like, oh shit, like I low-key prayed for this. Yeah. What? Like, and then you start have to pray, can I receive this? Do I have the capacity to sustain this? You know, do I deem myself worthy of it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Maintain that. Okay, do I feel like this is that, like, am I going to blow this out of proportion or am I going to destroy this? Like, no, if it's what's for you, like everything just presents itself, whether that's a job opportunity, whether that's like certain friendships coming back into your life or aligning, whether that's romantic, whether that's like situations with yourself, like it just, like even as simple as like, yesterday I had a lot of interesting synchronicities like line up in like weird ways. And I was just like, you know, I could have took that boat and fucking paddled it to whoever knows where. Like, I really could have. But I just grounded myself and I was just like, simplified. Okay, boom, boom. Okay, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Okay, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, like, and like kept on doing it like that rather than being like, the numbers, the words, the signs, like, what does it mean? Like,
all the stuff together, like, where did it go?
Yeah, like the overwhelm, like, because it's like, if you are just like dealing with the overwhelm, especially when it's coming from like an uncomfortable space, not even like, yes, also in a happy space, like, because then, you know, you could get into that manic mode where like you start like everything rose-colored glasses, like one thing feels good and now everything is great. Like, it's I was having a conversation, I forgot who I was talking to, where they were saying like, you know, like all that person would ever have to do is just like give me a compliment. I remember it was like, and she was like, yeah, she's like, you know, I'm like, am I that deprived that like all the person would have to do is just like give me a compliment? I'm like, that's it. I am in love with you. like that is it. Like and then like it blows out of proportion. You know, I feel like when things are like coming into alignment, whether, you know, wherever it is, like even with jobs, I remember I have a job position where I was like, oh my God, this is the best job I could have ever gotten. This is amazing, blah, 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 blowing it out of proportion. And it was great. It was incredible experiences, but like, it wasn't my end all be all. It didn't, like, yes, it brought change in my life. Yes, it taught me a lot of things, but like, it didn't, like, it wasn't what I was blowing it up to be. So I think that to find the grace in life, with being authentically yourself and showing up as you are requires a certain amount of awareness to also accept others and other things as they are as well. To know like, this is amazing or this fucking sucks, but like, this is just where you're at. And that can look so many different ways, but we can't even begin to accept other people if we don't accept ourselves.
Absolutely.
We could think we do. But really, most likely, we're like subconsciously also projecting onto them what we want them to be because we have not accepted ourselves.
I think for me, I love watching anime. That's just one of my things. And the reason that I love watching anime or reading manga or anything, related in that sense is I like to watch the characters and mainly a lot of the main characters because I feel like they have to go through that kind of like, in the beginning, like they don't have powers or like even if they do have powers, it's like
They don't even know
they're
it.
kind of just
Yeah.
thrust into this situation
Yeah.
that like it's like oh god, like how did I even get here? How did I even get here? But as you see them go through things, like it's not an easy process for them to get as strong as they do towards the end of the series.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing I absolutely love about those series is because like no matter what you're born with, no matter what you're given, no matter how many talents you have, at the end of the day, you're gonna struggle through a lot of things before you even get to that point of being like, I'm sure a lot of people, watch Naruto, but like, starting out, Naruto was just that like loser kid at the village that nobody wanted to deal with, and it wasn't even that he was a
him
loser.
In the swing. It's just him in the swing.
Exactly, it was just like
Yeah.
him just chilling there, and like nobody wanted to deal with him because of the circumstances that he was born with.
Yeah.
And then he ends up, years later, now he's the Hokage of the village, and
And
he's
said
running it.
He let everybody know the whole entire series that he was gonna be.
But his life was not easy.
No.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna wake up one day and be Hokage. It was like,
Yeah, no, it was always another challenge too. And it's like, oh, you love this person? Well, I'm not gonna ruin anything if you haven't watched Naruto, but like watch Naruto. That's all I'm saying. If you're gonna listen to my podcast, you probably should watch Naruto because they definitely spoiled it.
One Piece too, because that's my thing. I love One Piece.
You were telling me, yeah. I need to do it. I just need to.
One thing I can
do
say is that like the main character Luffy, like he's just like this like bombastic, like he's so like out there, and he's so authentic to himself that he doesn't think about anything.
Yeah.
And for the most part, before like the first half of the series, like he gets into a lot of things, but like for the most part, he comes out kind of unscathed. A couple scratches, a couple bruises. He'll sleep it off and eat, in the morning. But it gets to a point where he reaches this place where it's like almost like impossible for him to move forward if he doesn't train. And he's going throughout this whole series like making it look easy, going up against like people that like a 17-year-old should never be touching, like should not be going near in a fight. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to punch him in the face. It's going to happen. And he does it. And then, like I said, he gets to this point where it's just downhill, like so downhill because he's so overconfident in himself. And he doesn't think about the fact that, well, maybe if I'm going up against like people stronger and stronger and stronger, maybe I should be getting stronger too. And he ends up in a really like messed up situation. I'm not going to spoil anything. All I'm saying is it's a really messed up situation and it breaks him and he has to like train. But after that training, he still comes back and he's still as confident as ever because he knows in himself that he wants to follow his dream. He wants to be the king of the pirates. And he knows that regardless of what I went through back then, I put in the work, I put in the effort. I've made a name for myself. My bounty's gone up. Like, I'm just going to go out and take the world by storm. And he does it. And I think the fact is, like, when you start the series, you see him as, like, this character that can never fail. And when you finally get to that point where he fails, it's like, it's really hard to watch. I mean, it was really hard to watch when I first watched it because I was like, nah, homie never loses. Homie never takes an L. And he, like, it was just bad. But I think for a lot of people, we get overconfident in ourselves and we do go out into the world without thinking what we're doing. And then sometimes we end up hitting it head on in that place where it's like, okay, now we really have to think about what we're doing because why was I just doing that, like, throughout this whole time thinking that I was just going to pass by?
Yeah, let's just chill. Like, yeah, it's like because you do certain training and then, like, you're like, this is good, but it's like, all right, but you've already went up 7 levels. So, like, how is your training from level 1 still good at level 7?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, you gotta go through training. And then that's when life initiates you into certain circumstances, and then you gotta learn. And sometimes that looks like literal training. Like, I feel like right now I'm like in the aspect of like my avatar training currently. Like, I'm earth bending. Like, I'm stepping into earth bending. Like that's the season I'm in. And it's like, that's always the one I've always avoided. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll do a little bit, but I want to water. Like, I naturally water bend. Like, I naturally air bend. Like, fire, boom. Like, all of this is like, it comes natural to me. And earth bending does too. It's just like, you have to be patient to earth bend.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, slower pace. Like, every other element, you can be a little bit more rapid. Right?
Yeah, you can be
Fire,
a little more
air,
fluid.
Water, yes, fluid, exactly. You have to be solid in earth.
Yeah, you have to be like strong. Like, basically, you have to think of yourself as like a tree.
Yep.
In that sense.
Yeah.
And
I'm always like, what do you mean? Like, it can't be a tree. I got too many things I gotta do. I can't be a tree. I'm like, I respect trees.
But trees get things done, regardless of the fact that they're just standing there. They breathe life into this planet.
Yeah, they do. They're just literally all day alchemizing carbon to oxygen. Just, however, I don't know, because trees don't breathe like that, but we do. And that's what I correlated it with. But yeah, they're just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's like I'm changing my perspective. Like, I feel like I've always just got back to this, like, maybe because I lack earth in my chart. Maybe that's why, And then, like, I've always looked at, like, I think, like, people around me, whether that's, like, family members or friends or, like, even partners that I had, like, that earth signs that, like, provide that grounding for me. Because, I mean, I have a Virgo Mars, so it exists within me, but that's still an output. Mars is an output. Mars is like what I do for you, what I do for you, what I do in general, like with my actions. Yes, that's a part that I'm still having inwardly, but like, I don't know, it doesn't hit the same. And like, I'm in this space where I'm like cultivating this, like, okay, patience. But like, I'm the type of person, like, if I don't know why I'm being patient, like, I'm not patient.
Oh, yeah. I felt that.
Like, I'm not patient. Like, if I don't
like,
know
why do I have to sit here?
Yeah, and if I forget why, I'm also not patient again. So I need to remind myself all the time, like, why are you being patient about this?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do you actually want? Okay. Oh, okay, you're right. I'll be patient. All right, I'll be good. I'll be patient. Okay, fine. But then like, the moment I forget, I'm like I'll just do. I want to do it. I'm the type of person, like, this is what I want to do. This is here. There's all of these obstacles. Okay, that's fine. I could take care of it. That's no problem. I want to get there. This is what I want to do. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter, like, what I have to, like, I have to be a tornado. I'll rip this shit up. I got to be a tsunami. I'll flood this shit. Like, I need to be an inferno. Like, I'll burn it all to the ground. But it's like, but what about just being a tree? Like, what about just being the earth under it? And then you are it. Because you are the path when you are earth. You're a part of it. So you have connection to it at all time. That's what I'm realizing right now in this exact moment.
not only are you the path, but you can also shake the foundation as an earthquake.
Right?
So, I think for me, I'm going through like my own, I guess it would be like a secondary like spiritual awakening, because I feel like I awakened like spiritually back in like high school, probably like sophomore, junior year. That's when I started to like really think about spirituality in a deeper way. But now, I've gotten to a certain point in my life where I'm like, man, like I want to kind of cultivate my mind more. Like I've been so busy like cultivating others and like helping others achieve like their own goals, and it's like,
what about you?
Yeah, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? How do I want to do things? And I'm like, now I study Buddhism a lot more, because I feel like that for me is like that grounding space.
Yeah.
Because I'm a water sign, I'm a Pisces, so I be all up in the clouds sometimes, but sometimes I just need to, come back down to earth and just like breathe, you know, and be like, I'm here.
Yeah.
This
Take your
is
shoes
this
off,
is
put it on the floor. Like, yeah.
like this is the energy that I need to like cultivate within myself. And not, you know, what Buddhism has really taught me is that like, yeah, life is gonna be hard. There's gonna be a lot of like things that are unfair. There are gonna be a lot of things that make me upset. There are gonna be a lot of things that bring me negative energy. But at the same time, I have the opportunity to determine how I will react, how I will do things. And I can always have power in the sense that I know, regardless of what's outside myself, I'm always going to be here for me. Like, I'm always going to have my spirit's back. My spirit's always going to have my back.
Yep.
Because we're in it together.
Yeah, literally.
So for me, I think that understanding has really broadened my perspective to a lot of things, because I've learned not only to respect others in a very deep way. And I know, like, a lot of people, like, when they hear respect, it's like, oh, just the way you communicate with another person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not only the communication. You know, the way to respect somebody is to respect who they are, what they're doing, where they are in their life. Because I feel like a lot of the time, sometimes, I think something that you can do that's quote-unquote disrespectful is, like, seeing someone for potential, but not seeing them for who they are in this moment.
Accepting.
So you're sitting there going, oh, I want them to be what I see them as.
Yep.
Or I see that they have this potential, so I want to bring it out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't accept where they are in the current moment, like, how are you respecting them? You can't teach them to be that, you know, person that you see them to be if you can't even accept who they are in the current moment.
And usually when you're doing that, it's because you're not accepting who you are in the current moment.
Mm-hmm.
If you accept who you are in the current moment, and then you look across and you're like, oh, I accept you are where you're in the current moment. And then, like, if you create that space where, like, you're just accepting people in any regard, you give them the option and the safe space for them to also thrive. You know, like, I had a conversation yesterday with my mom, like, and it was, like, so beautiful, even though it was uncomfortable. Like, I, like, sat, like, I noticed something and I spoke on something. And I was just like, I know she straight up was like not trying to hear it. Like, there's, like,
I know that
like,
feeling.
It's like straight up not what you want to hear. Like, but I also didn't want to hear what I was hearing because it didn't feel authentic to who she was, who she is. And I was just like, I just want to, like, put that in the space, like, and, like, at first she was resistant to it, and then she was like, she was able to see it and then, like, begin to, like, thrive in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, me personally, like, you know, I'm a water sign too. Like, I care very much about caring. Like, I care very much about feelings.
Definitely.
Like, I care very much about consideration. And something that I did not realize how much I was deprived from. Like, I always realized it, but, like, once you start to receive it in certain ways, whether that's from yourself or, like, from your environment or people around you, is, like, when you receive safety and security and acceptance to just literally be yourself, you can then, like, your central nervous system starts to regulate. You can then shift out of survival mode and not only, like, provide for yourself, but you can really thrive.
Mm-hmm.
You can really thrive. And, like, that's all I set out to do in any of the spaces that I curate, you know, whether it's here, you know, whether it's, like, the moon meetings or, like, wherever, whatever, even if it's just a conversation I have, like, smoking tobacco outside of a restaurant, like, that's always the energy and the space that I strive to cultivate. So then to receive it, when I receive it, I don't take it lightly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm grateful to receive it in the different ways that I have received it, that I am receiving it, that I will receive it, you know, because it affirms my existence in a way that, like, my inward reality and what I've been pushing outward is then coming back in a way. And, like, that made me have to realize, like, in receiving that more and more, like, it made me, like, not to get caught up on, like, why wasn't I receiving it before, but it was like there was still a worthiness thing.
Yeah.
It was still a worthiness thing, and it was still a potential projection thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of what I want. I could see this for you. I think I accept you in this moment. But I'm accepting that I want what's best for you, and accepting where you're at, and you not knowing what's best for you, and you being open to like not being open to things and being open to things. Like those are two very different things, you know. And I thought that I was doing a service, but I was doing a disservice, and like, because that's how you make people feel like they're not enough. And I don't ever want anyone, you know, anybody that especially like romantically, like, I mean, I've done that in friendships too, you know. I'm sure like I could take accountability for it, you know. But especially in relationships, like, I've experienced so much of that on my part, of just feeling like I wasn't enough for people, you know. And I'm not void of creating that feeling. I'm sure different people that I was interacting with felt inadequate, you know, especially because I was projecting what I thought was best for them, or what I thought that they would want for themselves, or what I wanted for them, you know. And I just like, I feel like the more that I accept myself, my faults, and like those realities, the more that I neutralize it by forgiving, you know, by just not suppressing. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not capable of doing that. I'm sure I did that. Like, that's unfortunate because it was never my intention, but I'm a human being, and I definitely have situations where I've done that, because I've absolutely projected onto people what I thought was the best for them. And if that's genuinely not what they want, then that could really feel like, wow, everything I'm doing is not enough. But really, it's just a lack of compatibility in any aspect, you know. So just getting real with that. And if you feel that, like, then to just being like, okay, like, whether that person can see it or not, or whether you can see it or not, and that other person realizes it, like, somebody has to do something about it. Because to exist there is only going to feed that. It's just going to feed that inadequacy, feed that not enough. And you just get further and further from yourself, you know? Like, I was saying earlier on the other show, like, the song that I, like, really resonated with over the past few months was Far by SZA. Do you know what song I'm talking about? And it's just like, you know, far, like, I don't recognize me. Far, like, I let you define me. Far, because I can't trust nobody. Far, so far, you know, whatever. I'm not going to sing it for y'all. But go listen to it for yourself. And it's just like, when we feel like that, like, everything we're hitting on, it's just like, that all it's just the same manifestation of, like, our internal prison of needing that external validation. Even not even, it's like, for me, like, it wasn't even. It used to be validation, and then I unpacked validation. I'm like, all right, validation, you're my mission, all right? Like, I'm not going to be validated by anybody or anything, and then I, like, deprived myself of validation. And then I integrated it back. I'm like, okay, I can accept some, like, I'm human, deserve to, like, feel a little bit, you know, but I was coming from the codependent side, so I had to, like, kind of go cold turkey in order to, like, make it make sense, right? Take it away and then integrate it back slowly. Now, what I did not realize was I don't know if it's because I'm the baby of my family, you know, for so long. Like, I'm the youngest sister. Like, I was the youngest family member in, like, my whole family, like, before the baby started coming out, you know, younger by, like, 7 years with my sister, 10 years with my other sister. And, like, I was just always the youngest person in the room. Like, every space I was in, I was the youngest person in the room. Like, everyone wanted to talk to me and, like, you know, ask me questions like I wasn't, but, like, still treated me like I wasn't, invalidated me like I was. And, like, you know, I would have to fight to be heard. You know, I would have to fight to be seen, or, like, oh, you're young, you don't know nothing. Like, you don't know shit. Like, what do you, like, that? And, like, that, like, does something to a person. I feel like I have been healing that for so long. But I also feel like, especially romantically for me, I feel like I didn't realize how I always dated people that were at least, like, 5 to, you know, like, 6 years older than me. Long-term relationships, like, you know, not 5 to 6, but, like, 5 to, like, you know, 8, whatever. Like, however the bracket was, usually around that amount. And, like, I didn't realize, like, am I waiting for you to tell me what to do? You know? Because, like, I'm not gonna listen, you know, first of all. But, like, is that just what I'm used to? Is that just what I feel like I need? Because that's what I've always been around. Like, am I looking for an authority figure? Like, am I looking for someone to know better than me, or, like, to keep me grounded with what they are saying to me, not by just creating a safe space for me to figure it out? that shit has like really rocked me recently. You know, I was like, like certain different things came up where I'm like, well, why is that a thing? You know, like why do I feel like that about, and why have I only like gone about it in that way, you know, and not like, you know, people of my age or whatever the case is, you know, like why has it always looked like that? And yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm like, you know, cracking that nutshell and getting to it and seeing what the inside looks like. I think it looks like that, you know, and it's uncomfortable because then that has to make me feel, because I like I said, like it doesn't mean I'm gonna listen, you know, but I think like subconsciously I wanted that. I guess I thought that's what security was, like, and safety was like, oh, you telling me, like you were being like, oh no, I think you should do this. Plenty of people have told me that they think they should do this, and I've listened, and that shit was not working out for me. Straight up, not having a good time, you know. So like, trying to do something a little different, you know, pivot a little bit, and just like in general. So that's an observation that I had made for myself, and like a way that everything in which we're talking about like manifested for me in like this like subtle side pocket way that I'd never realized up until like more recently.
I think for me, I'm the middle child. So, and I was always like the one in the room that like didn't get any attention. Like everybody else, like, you know, the babies got all the like baby attention. The older kids were always like doing their own thing together, and I was just like the middle kid. So like, you know, I was just kind of stuck between like two polarities, and I was just like, well, those kids are too young for me to talk to because, like, they won't understand what I'm saying. The older kids don't want to talk to me. The adults definitely don't want to hear anything from me. So I would get into a lot of romantic situations where I was trying to find somebody that would just listen, like, that would just be there, and not in the sense of, like, oh, I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to listen, but more of, like, I wanted to feel heard. I wanted to feel like, you know, my voice mattered in a room. And I think that's why a lot of the time I would put myself in a box, because I felt like I had to minimize, like lower the volume of the voice so that people would actually listen. But it would always upset me, and then I would always just go back to like raising it to full volume,
like,
and like
making it listenable. Like, and it's like not even what you're trying to relay.
Exactly. And then, you know, dealing with the people that I dealt with in the past, it really bothered me because I felt like I was never being heard. I felt like no matter what I said, no matter what I did, I was either not enough, too much, or they just didn't have enough time for me. They didn't care to have enough time for me, because I was like, well, if they really wanted to have time for me, they would. And it would bother me. And, you know, in my younger years, I would get very out of character over things like that. Like when I was in like elementary school, I was a very emotional kid, and as I got into like middle and high school, you know, those emotions subsided, but like eventually I met certain relationships where like I was like completely out of character because I felt like I wasn't being heard. But at the same time, I was projecting that same energy onto the other person. They weren't being heard as well. And I feel like I was in a situation where, because they weren't hearing me, I didn't care to hear what they had to say. I just wanted my voice to be heard. I wanted to be the one that actually, you know, somebody heard something and valued what I was saying. So I didn't really care a lot of the time when I was in early high school. And it would cause a lot of friction because I felt like a lot of the situations that I got myself into could have been solved if I had just listened a little bit and like been like, listen, I'll listen to you if you listen to me. You know, if you can accept that I have something to say, then we can talk this out. If not, we should just go our separate ways at this point, because I don't want to keep doing this. And even in my most like recent like relationship, honestly, I really didn't feel heard at all. And I didn't feel seen either, you know? Like I was just like, what am I doing here? Like why am I dealing with this if like it's almost like I'm a ghost in my own house, or, you know, I'm a ghost in my own relationship. I'm a ghost in my own life. And that's where, like, you know, the name Hueco came from, because it's hollow in Spanish. So, you know, it's like I'm
Oh damn! I'm sorry, I didn't even introduce you as that. I apologize.
It's okay. But it is I the idea of me being hollow. And I did discuss this with you the other day. Is like I have the two versions of like who I would depict myself as. I have Stitch, who's the one that is a stitched up version of all the opinions that have ever been made about me, and that is that part of myself that really resonates with everything that people says, and he takes it as like a almost like a badge and like wears it. But in reality, he's very self-conscious about all of it because he's like there's so many voices that is not even himself anymore. And then Hueco, on the other hand, would be that person that, was never seen, was never heard. It's just kind of like the fly on the wall. You don't even notice them. And I feel like a lot of my life, I've felt both of those polarities. And it's strange to me because I think about the sign of the Pisces as, the two fish, the yin and the yang, the black and the white. And it really does fit for both names because one is completely unseen and the other one is in the limelight and everybody sees, but everybody also has an opinion. Whereas on the other hand, again, there is no opinion because how can you give an opinion to something that you don't even know exists?
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
In that process of not feeling heard and not feeling listened to, not feeling seen, were you listening to yourself?
A lot of the time, no.
Were you seeing yourself?
No. And I take that in a sense because I was so focused on what other people were seeing that I didn't even give myself the time to see myself. And that's why I was acting out of character so much. Because I never looked at myself in the mirror in like a figurative sense. I was never like, oh, let me take the time to actually look at myself and see what I'm doing to myself. I didn't
You're
do
just
that.
seeing what other people were doing to you when you looked at yourself in the mirror.
And I never really wanted to keep looking in the mirror because I was like, all these negative things that I keep seeing, I don't want to keep seeing them.
Yep.
I'm just going to disappear. And so, again, Stitch and Hueco.
Yeah. Maybe it's time. I mean, if you're okay, I feel like it's like a vulnerable thing to do on here, but like maybe it's time to spend time with Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I do need to spend that time with myself. And I try to as much as I can now, especially after my most recent relationship. Now that I have, where I'm working now, I work with kids in a transfer school. So, I take that time for myself when I'm home because I know that, like, these kids in that school, like, they didn't get seen. Or they had too many opinions about them, and that's why they're in the school that they're in, So it's like they're almost like a reflection of me. So I have to be willing to accept who I am if I want to help them because I'm like, some of these kids don't feel seen, so I need to be able to see them.
And you can only do that by truly seeing yourself, which brings in like the embodiment and the integrity. Is like the more you see yourself, the more like this is how I trick myself into like doing this shit for myself. Still to this day is like because like I didn't have the value on myself to do it for me. So I was like, oh shit, people need me. Oh shit, how do I optimally show up for them? Oh, I have to show up for me to show up for them. Even though like it's crazy because some people just operate from the other way. They're like, oh, I have to show up for myself first. Like naturally, like I had to trick myself to show up for myself through being able to help other people more. And then innately in doing that, like, I'm just like, every time I like remember that, like, that's the process. Like, I love showing up for me. When I show up for me and I'm like, authentically, like, I don't even know if I made the point before, like, when I was saying, like, the two different sides where, like, when I was working the event the other day, when I was sober at one side and I had a sabbatical the other side. Like, I was so authentically myself in all versions of me. Like, I found it funny. Like, I thought I was hysterical. I was by myself, and like, yes, I seen people I knew, but I showed up to both of these places. One, to work by myself, and then the second, I showed up to like shout out to Girl on the Rocks. You know, like I showed up to like, you know, support my friend, and also to like, just like, you know, be outside. I was like outside all day. I wanted to dance. Like, I was in two places, like in two like bar, restaurant type places that like people go in groups of people, and I went by myself. And I just did me. Like, I just did me. Like, yes, I, like, mingled with people at different times, like, different, like, folks that, like, but especially at the first one, there was, like, a long periods of time where I was just by myself, like, just dancing, just, like, chatting, just doing my thing. Like, I love that for me. Like, that's, like, as a super shy person, as a super, like, I'm not trying to be outside with everybody looking at me, and, like, pulling up and just being, like, serving, like, this is who the fuck I am. Like, I'm not serving it to anyone. I'm serving it to myself. I'm serving it to myself. I'm serving myself a main course of me. Like, you know, and with dessert and an appetizer, like, and 3 drinks, because, you know, ADHD, energy, hydration, and flavor, right? You know? So, giving that shit to yourself, man, you feel good. Like, makes you want to do it more.
Yeah.
Right? And that could look a lot of different ways. And every day just showing up. You know, you showing up here and you speaking about these topics and you saying the things that you're saying, like, you're showing up for you.
Yeah.
You know, you're showing up for you in an infinite time and space. Like, this time capsule, it will be trippy.
I'm absolutely like that. That's why I was so like quick to accept like your offer, because I was like, I like this past like 2 months, I've just been trying my best to show up for myself. When I got my first paycheck, I went to go see John Wick by myself.
Yeah.
I didn't text anyone. I didn't call anyone. I was like, oh, do you guys want to go see John? Nah. I was
Nah,
like, you know what?
I'm
getting up.
I'm going. That's
I was like, I got up and I went to go see John Wick.
Good
and
for
I was
you.
like, nah, that's fine. And more recently, I've just been like doing a lot of things by myself. Like after work, I always like, there's a park by my job. So after work, I come out of work, I walk down the block, I sit in the park for like an hour. And then I go to the gym for another hour. And then I go home. So I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't need to have like a whole like entourage with me to get things done. Like I can just
choose you.
Exactly. I can choose me and be happy in what I'm doing now.
And get to know yourself, and it could be fun because you're like, oh, I fuck with me. Like, I'm pretty lit. Like, this is dope. And then the more you do that, the more that it comes across with other people. The more people have access to that. If you don't think that of yourself, like, people are just going to see your potential and think that that's cool. But then we know how that works. You know what I mean?
And a lot of the time, like, when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, this person has potential. I've done it, and I know a lot of people that have done it to me.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, this person has a lot of potential, but then like,
I'm like, let me destroy this.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna completely sabotage the image that they have of me in their head.
Yeah, how dare you have an image of me? Like, how dare you think this of me when I'm over here fighting my inadequacies already? Like, you think that makes me feel good? It's like, because it doesn't. That's the thing that's crazy. Is like, we think in our head that like projecting potential onto people, like, it's an honor to them. The fuck? Like,
no, it does not feel good.
It doesn't. It feels like so much pressure. And
because it's like, damn, I'm supposed to be that. I'm supposed to look like what you told me. I'm like, oh my god.
Like, I'm supposed to be that and do that, and I'm also supposed to be that and do whatever I think I'm supposed to. There's like so many different versions of what I'm supposed to be that I can't even accept myself in this.
Everything,
moment.
everywhere, all at once.
Don't you even, sir? Yeah, thanks. This movie's chasing me, bro. This movie's chasing me. Like, yo, it's like you're like the third person literally on the podcast to reference this movie.
That's crazy.
I finally watched it. I understand. I get why people told me to watch it. Like, I get it. But yeah, that part, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, and it's just it feels so heavy, and that's why like now I'm like, you know what? If I feel like going out with my friends, I'll hit them up. And, like, if they're busy, they're doing cool beans. That just gives me the ample opportunity to go and do something that I want to do for myself. I'm just putting it out there because I'm like, you know what? Maybe they would want to come do this with me, but I'm hoping that they don't so I can go do something with myself.
Yo, so then don't even ask them. That's it. You just don't even ask them. Like, you know, like, I literally, like, I'm the person, like shout out to my friend Bree, like, for real, shout out to Bree, you know, like our friendship has just evolved in such a beautiful way for, like, always evolving. And, like, we're both like brats, you know what I'm saying? But like in a good way, like that we both know it, you know, but in two different ways. So it's like we take turns, like it's like alternate side bratting, you know, and like, like so I'll be like, yo, like, you know, oh, okay, like, we're gonna do that, yeah, cool, okay, like 20 minutes before the thing's gonna be done, like, yeah, no, I think I'm actually really supposed to just like read a book by myself by this tree, and it's just not feeling like it's it for me anymore. It's like, okay, cool, thank you for honoring yourself. Okay, cool. Like, and you know, like, shout out to a lot of my friends. Like, actually, like now in this day and age, because I'm doing that so much, like, I don't really have friends that get upset about that anymore.
Oh no, that exactly how I feel too. Because like literally my best friend, Rango, the homie on the podcast. Shout out.
Shout out to Rango.
There's times where like, you know, me and him will talk throughout the day, and I'll be like, oh, give me a call like later in the day, like when you're free and stuff. He's like, yeah, I totally got you, bro. It gets to like 9 o'clock. I'm like, you gonna give me that call, bro? He's like, nah, I'm just not feeling it right now. Like I'm just gonna go like 5. Like I'm gonna go draw in my room. I'm like, you know what? Like I mess with that. Go ahead.
Valid.
Go for it.
It's like it's the honesty. As long as people are honoring themselves and being honest with you, like not stringing you along, like that's the thing. Like they just tell me.
No,
just tell me.
That's
like,
really like my biggest pet peeve when people like. Not only can they not be honest with me, but like they're not even being honest with themselves at that point.
They can't be honest with you because they can't be honest with themselves. They're like in denial. They're like in this fight and this war with themselves, and then they're pulling you into the arena to like be like, oh, don't you want a part of this? And it's like, bro, I did not buy tickets to this. This is like straight up. I was trying to be in the spa. Like you're trying to bring me to the Coliseum. Like we're just on 2 different type of timing. Let me free. Like you know?
And that's what I could really say. Like that I very much appreciate like my friends for that, because when they're not feeling up to it, they come to me and they tell me, they're like, listen, I'm just not feeling it right now, or like I'm a little too busy. I'm like, I'm completely fine with that as long as you're just being straight up.
Yeah.
And it's like it bothers me more when somebody is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and then like I don't hear from them like at all.
Then they ghost. Like that's like I feel like very much so. That's like very much so. Like 90% of like my generation. Like you know, there's some people that are like working it out. You know, but yeah, it's just like, just tell me. Like I've had to like break it down. Like some of my like really amazing friends I love so fucking much. That are such incredible people. Would just be like. Gone, like phone off, like just completely. And I'm an anxious person. Like now I'm concerned. Are you okay?
Yeah,
like,
now I'm like worried about you.
I don't even care that like we're not doing what we set out to do, and like that changed trajectory of my day. I'm over it. Are you okay? Because now I'm just like, you know, I don't like that. I just like you know.
I think I like personally when they can be honest with me, because it's like you took the time, even if you were feeling like shit.
Yeah.
Like you took that time to like. Send me a text.
Yeah.
Now that leaves me no reason to really worry, because I'm like, okay, if it was something that serious, they would have just put me onto it.
Yeah.
But they just need to take that time for themselves, and I can completely, you know, respect that. Whereas there's times where I've heard, you know, I've had people in my past just like throw shit on me and then disappear, and I'm like, don't do that. Like, I'm an overthinker. Don't do that. Don't put me in a position where I'm sitting there and like getting anxious because I'm like, yo, what happened?
Yeah. Oh my God, nah. That's why like if you're not gonna tell me what it is, don't tell me there's a thing to about.
Because I start to overthink.
I'm just gonna now my brain's like, but what if it's like this, or if it's like that? But now I have to be honest. Now at this point in my life, I could shut it off. Like I like pretend that I can't, you know, because like tell me anyway, you know what I mean? But like in reality, it doesn't shake me the way it used to. I'll just be like, all right. Divine timing, divine timing, you know, like whatever, like if you can't, like I gotta trust, you know, because you try to force things, and when you force things, like listen, I've been big on forcing things, even though I did not think I did, because I'd be like, but I'm coming from my heart, like, but I mean it from like the depths of my soul, like how could that be bad? Like, nah, it can be, you know. force is force. And when you force something, you push it, you're pushing something away. Like, that's just
I feel like
physics.
when I hear like force, because I've done it in the past. I've had people do it to me in the past. You know,
Yeah.
when I hear force, it's like I think of, again, a tree. You know, you got to bend before you break. And now if you're just forcing a tree, it's gonna snap before it even has a chance to bend.
You're just like chopping wood, like kicking them through. Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, let me force it to bend. You're taking it and you're just snapping it.
Yeah.
So
Which
it has no
leaves frayed
chance.
Pieces. It's
Exactly.
Not, it's like even think about when you rip a piece of paper. You rip a piece of paper. You don't even try to like put an indent in it or anything. Like, you don't rip it straight. Like,
Yeah,
it's
like all
like,
over the place.
yeah.
It looks like a lightning bolt.
If you take and like fold it, put a little thumbnail. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you like, and then it comes out with ease. It's like when you cut in, like when you wrap in Christmas gifts, right? And you take the scissors and then you just like, you know, instead of like, and then it's like it frays up and then it gets all fucked up. You know? It's just like, yeah, just chill, bro. Like, just chill. Like, it's like, I realize that sometimes with myself, I'm like, you know, there's that song that circulates on Instagram recently, and he goes like, he pulled me into her chest and said to loosen up. Thought I was loose enough. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Like, and that every time I hear that, I release the tension in my shoulders. I'm like, damn, I thought I was loose enough. God damn, like, shit. Like, I'm holding that stress in my shoulders. Like, take a breath, bruh. You know, like, why am I so tense? And it's like, why not? Yes, why not? Because look at look at everything around us, everything everywhere all at once, you know? So, of course, like.
Yeah, of course we're going to be tense and, like, you know, in, like, a defensive position.
Yeah, especially being sensitive. Like, especially, like, feeling everything at the same token, too. Like, of course, you're, like, kind of bracing. You're, like, you know, going in, like, you know, me, Cancer being, like, going to my show. Like, I'm like, I physically, like, get more in, you know? But then it's just, like, just leave. Like, whether it's a mindset or whether it's a physical place, like, leave so you can. It doesn't mean you don't have to process it. Doesn't mean you have to avoid it. But, like, if you literally can't process anything, you can't process anything in that state. You need to loosen up, you know, and in order to understand why you were tense in the first place. You don't even realize you're tense unless you loosen up.
Mm-hmm. That's why now, like, a lot of the time when I'm feeling any kind of, like, stress or anything like that, I either go I go watch anime, or I, like, do something for myself, because I'm like, if I sit here and, like, allow it to build, it's gonna turn into, like, a grenade, and I don't need that. No. So I try to, like, release that tension by just, you know, like, if I'm feeling angry, I'll go to the gym, because I'm like, you know what, like, this is where I can release that excess energy that doesn't need to be here, and it's still beneficial on me, and it has nothing to do with anybody else. I'm not exploding on somebody and, like, you know, cursing them out. I could just be like, you know what, it is what it is. I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna get some gains, and then I'm gonna go home and rest.
Yeah, it's good to have an outlet. We need to have a physical outlet. We need to be able to, like back in the day, like in our tribes and our communities, like, it was like lifting up wood, chopping wood, carrying water. Like, there were so many things that we had to do that would get this emotion out of us.
I was actually discussing this with I believe it was Rangel, that when I see, like, back in the day, like, tribes and stuff, and this is, like, very, you know, I don't know if it's off topic, but I'll just go into it. So back in those tribal eras, like, the people, like, the men would go out and they would have to hunt, and there were certain, like, duality, like, there was a duality to both men and women. Now, men would go out and they would, you know, hunt their food, blah blah blah. But if a man was, like, too lazy, or, like, they didn't get up early enough, or whatever the case may be, they risked the entire tribe dying. Because it's not like we had refrigerators back then. It's not like we had anything to, like, preserve the food. Not to mention, your food has legs. It is running away from you. Yeah. So if you don't get up early enough, by the end of the day, your food's gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you gonna risk your whole tribe, like, starving, and then, you know, bringing it back home? Like, they just went out on, like, you know, however long it was to go hunt the animal and bring it back. Now they have to chop it up. and who's at, who's in the tribe teaching everybody, about where to put the weapons, how to, collect, the things that we need to make clothes, berries so that we can make juice, or, whatever, we're going to eat, with the meat and things like that. So I feel like the duality of men and women, to me, is very interesting, because I feel like in today's society, like, we kind of do have that problem of, like, people don't accept that they are who they are, and if we had that same issue back when tribal era, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't exist, simply because all those tribes would be dead, because there were certain responsibilities that needed to be taken care of, and they did not have time to waste. And that's what...
It was literal life and death. It's like those memes where it's like my ancestors were over here like hunting to survive, and I'm over here having a panic attack in the supermarket. It's just like, it just puts shit in perspective. You know what I mean? Not to say it's invalid, but just to be like that's me, bro. Like, for sure, like, definitely be having like panic attacks in the supermarket. It's like my thing, It's how I made some friends, actually. Could you not? Like, shout out to Lena and Trader Joe's, because that's how we became friends. I was freaking out, But yeah, because we just have different things that bring us to survival, like fight or flight, And yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that there's even more to like unpack and elaborate there. I think that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
But just to also acknowledge what you said, and like to honor that wisdom in the words that you're speaking of, like, you're absolutely right. And I definitely agree with that. And there's also like the middle roles too, for the more masculine women, the feminine man, like, like it's like, but at the end of the day, like, when you had to go to war, like, you had to go with what you were, and but there was space for the in-between. There was space for the in-between. Absolutely. And that was honored and revered, actually. Like, that they were, like, looked at as, like, some of the most powerful people in the tribes. I think that, like, a lot of people don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do when feeling these things and sensations and emotions. And it's like, well, who's teaching anything either? Like, we're only getting spoon-fed, like, oh, well, this is how you liberate yourself, and this is that, and this is that. And it's like, but, like, wait, let's go back to origin story. Like, nobody knows their role.
Yeah.
It's not just, like, the in-between, the this, the that, the women, the men. Like, nobody knows their role.
Yeah, everybody's kind of just walking around lost.
Just fucking, what is it? Like, what is it? What do they call it when you're not doing anything? When you're not taking any medication or something? Like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so, like, it's just like, it's like when you're just out there just doing it, like, freely. You know what I'm saying? Like, anything. I remember, but it's inappropriate. So, but yeah, like, with that being said, seeking within like communities of stuff to like validate ourselves by literally just being and showing up as we are. The people that are for you are going to love that about you. They're going to embrace that about you. They are going to support that about you. And like, you're not going to have to question or doubt for a moment. Like, you're not, like, and if you do, like, it'll quickly be erased by like the love that's met you in those spaces. There's plenty of times, like, even within my community that I like, that is my extended family upstate, is like, there's times where I've been like, oh my God, do I belong here? Like, am I indigenous enough to be here? Like, like, I grew up in the city, like, I'm just trying so hard to like get back to my roots, and it's like, just also being a mixy kid, like, it's like never feeling like I fit anywhere too, and like carrying all of that with me and all of this projecting it everywhere, like, anything I did wrong, like, oh my God, it's because I'm not supposed to fucking be here, because I'm not worthy of it. Like, that's what it is, and like, doing that, watching them watch me do that, but not realizing that they seen what I was doing, and then like them loving me in that space, Let me sweat though. Don't get it twisted. They let me sweat for sure. They're like, let's let her think this for a little bit.
Yeah,
So she
let's let her get it out of her system for a little bit, and then like we'll still show
then we'll
love
break it
and,
down. Yeah, then we'll come back in and be like, oh, okay, like, but we love you though.
Mm.
And I'm like, I've been attacking myself for like a half hour.
No,
just, you know?
I could say that I definitely like feel that way about a lot of my friends now,
Yeah.
because like in the past I would definitely get myself into like groups of people that like it was just not right for me, and I would be like, yeah, this is totally like perfect. This is okay.
Yeah, this is totally good.
And then like when I see my friends today and like the people that I talk to today, I'm like, why was I ever dealing with the people in the past that I was dealing with? And I'm like, you know, I feel so lucky.
It by, you know?
I feel so lucky to have a lot of my friends, because it's like, no matter who I am, no matter who I show up as, whether I'm, you know, venting to them about some girl that like, you know, I like or whatever, or like I'm really, you know, coming to them with some like profound knowledge that like I feel like they need to hear, like they accept me in all aspects of what I'm feeling and how I'm, you know, how I am. And I think the best part about the friends that I have now is that when they're not capable of holding that capacity, they simply just say like, we can talk about this another day. Like, we can talk about this like another time.
It's maturity. It's like being able to like when you're deprived of that, like when you're deprived of like people not having that capacity, and then you receive it like in any aspect, it's like, this fucking exists? Like, what the fuck? You know? So
oh my God, no. I was going off on like a tangent about this girl that I was like interested in to Rangel. And, you know, he gives me like a little bit of wisdom. And I'm like, yeah, but, and he's like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. I'm going to go draw. I'll talk to you another day. And he hung up on me. I was like, are you serious? He just hung up on me. Bro. But like, I called him back like a week later, and I was like, dude, thanks. Cause like, I was really going in on myself about this whole situation. He was like, I could tell. That's why I hung up on you. I was like, I love you, but like, you're an ass.
Yeah. No, for sure. He's definitely a special one. Really got mad love for him, man. But yeah, like it's great to have people like that, you know. And it's like, I feel like I'm very much so that friend in a lot of ways, and I also have those friends for me, you know. And like, yeah, it's so important. It's so important to just like to be like, to have someone check in and be like, yo, am I bugging? And it's like, yeah, but like, I love you, like,
yeah.
You know?
No, like it really did hit me when he hit me with that, because I was like, I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me that I was just straight up bugging.
Yeah.
Like they just let me let me like go off on a tangent, and then I'm like, when
silently judge you, like, you know, or whatever.
But like for him, he was like, nah, bro, I'm not entertaining it right now.
Yeah, because he's valuing himself, and he's like, I don't got the space for that. Like, I don't got the space for this bullshit. Respectfully, I love you though. Peace, you know.
And I was like, you know what, like, I really respect him for doing that, because I was like, that showed me that like I don't always have to like indulge in things that I don't want to indulge in.
Yeah. Like, he loves himself enough to do that.
And that's
and
like,
you can do that too.
And that's what he tries to teach me, even like, because we teach each other a lot of things. And the one thing that I've definitely learned from him is like, just, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Like, you have to hold that respect for yourself first. Regardless of how it's going to make others feel, regardless of how others are going to look at you, you just got to straight up just be like, listen, this is it. This is how it is. Like,
period. Come as you are. Like, the whole topic of this, like, just come as you are. Like, you need to be okay with how you are before you think how other people are going to be okay with you. Like, first yourself, second other people, no matter who it is, no matter who, what, where, whatever, good, bad, anything between. You first.
And it's crazy because I got to actually like watch him kind of grow into it this past like year, and it was just like the most amazing experience of watching my friend like grow into a newer version of himself, and just seeing like that level of respect that he has for himself. It makes me want to respect myself, because I'm like, if my brother has like that much respect for himself, like, and he's still dealing with my shit, like, I gotta respect myself a little more. Like, I gotta fix my crown a little bit.
Yes, exactly. But that's what it's all about, and that's how you know you're around the right people, when they make you want to evolve, not because they're telling you, but because you're inspired.
Absolutely.
Beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Well, listen, I feel like we covered a lot, and I really, really, it's been an honor to have you on here.
I very much again appreciate you having me here. It was actually an honor to be welcomed on.
No, it was funny because we were talking about the other podcast initially.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, you trying to come on the podcast tomorrow?
And I was like, you know what? I could talk to my supervisor and see if I can come on.
Yeah, and then I was like, wait. I don't want you to take off work. Hold on, and it's like, but that's the boundaries within myself that I'm honoring. That's why I was able to identify that, too. And I was honored that you wanted to do that. But anytime someone tells me they have to take off work, I'm like, nah, let's see if there's another option. And then if there is no other option, then yeah, you know what I mean? And that's, we work it out from there, where it can be honorable for everybody, for Kenny, for you guys, for me. And, today was tight schedule,
I do appreciate the accommodations because I definitely had to go home, drop off a couple things. And by the time I was on my way here, I was like, am I going to be late? Oh my God, no.
We were exactly on time.
Yeah.
We were exactly on time. And that's the thing too. It's I felt like, because which thank you for also squeezing into your day and making it happen, and it's I had the radio show, and then after the radio show I had therapy, and then and in between therapy and the radio show I had to eat something, and I was like, that was very tired, and I was like, no, you can't be tired right now. It's okay if you're tired, but drink some water, let's do this. And then the bus and all that.
Yeah, it was
but it worked out.
Yeah.
We got it done.
Exactly.
Right? And we did a fucking phenomenal job. And I love that for us. I love it for you individually. I love that for me individually. And then also for everyone listening and whoever will listen. And for us to go back and listen to that and get whatever pieces and gems that we need whenever we need to.
Yeah, this is definitely something I'm going to come back to a couple more times after it's posted.
Yeah, as you should. I recommend that to everybody. Because it's this is just as much yours as it is mine. These episodes, So, before we go, I am going to... I read from this book the other day, but what is today? The 9th?
Yeah.
Okay, I like 9. Would you like to read it?
Should I?
I would love you to, yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
I always feel like a teacher when I do that to people.
So from here, right?
Yeah, the whole page.
Okay.
Unless you want to split the paragraph, we could really make it school.
Do you often do what others want you to, or put the needs of others first? Or do you sometimes put yourself first, say no when you need to, and do things that feel right to you? Assertive behavior can be difficult. Being assertive doesn't often make others happy. Give others what they want. Take care of everyone else's needs or fulfill their image of you as someone who bends over backwards for others. But assertive people have learned to stand up for themselves and express their true feelings. They don't let others take advantage of them and are able to let go of the feeling that they have to cave in to the pressures and demands of others. While being assertive may be hard, especially when it means doing or saying things that may not be viewed favorably by others, it is your way of protecting yourself. To learn how to be assertive, simply learn to say no. To working overtime, to making dinner every night, or to volunteering to head up a project. Standing up for and protecting your rights, not the wants or needs of others, is what being assertive is all about. That is actually very deep. I like that.
This is perfect for
I really like
right
that.
after this book does the thing. It always does the thing. I have to say, Peace of Mind book, and then Mind Platter. This book I had got in Oregon at this new and used bookstore, and it was so fire. I looked at it, just seen it. I was it was a used one, and I was like, what is that? Watercolor eyes, Mind Platter? That sounds like it's for me, And I opened it up, and it was just oh shit, that's where that was. Good to know. But I opened up to a page, and I was just like, look at me joking. Hold on. Me joking, right? I said I opened up to a page.
That's crazy.
Okay, in this page, it just said, like, literally,
Got everything.
it says open up your eyes, and it says I wonder, so we'll just put that. I'm going to put this here so I could go back to that in a moment. And, yeah, so I'm going to also I'm going to pull from this deck right here, from this chakra deck. I was feeling called to pull some cards before we conclude. For anybody that's listening, that feels resonant for them to, receive any message or information, anything that they might be open to at this time, whenever that time is for you. And I pray in a good way, Creator, to allow me as a vessel to pull a card for all of us that need to hear a message to how to show up, more authentically, or just as we are, in full acceptance of that in the best way, like what could benefit from us doing that here and now. Maybe be protected in this moment, and moving forth in our life to just continue to honor ourselves and do the best we can. That's mad loud in my earphone. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
I'm like, I don't think it's that loud and like out there beyond the headphones, but. So throat chakra came up, and it says isolation. Oop. Oop. And let's get into the story of it. Sapphire is blue, a childlike playfulness hidden under the sapphire's serious, elegant exterior. This card denotes wealth and ability to do anything well. Trust and loyalty are indicated. Sapphire also has great capacity for healing. Isolation. I've got all I ever could need right now. The legend. Sapphire Blue occasionally gets invited somewhere, but invariably he turns the invitation down. After all, what would he wear? He bought a tux once, just in case, but won't wear it because he might spill something on it. Besides, going out would alter his routine. He's tried to meet people, but hasn't met anyone of his caliber. So Sapphire stays home and remains quite blue. Inspiration. Do not wait for the right time to live your life. You are on the verge of something big, but if you don't participate it could pass you by. Personal inquiry. Sapphire does not know the difference between isolation and solitude, do I? Let me reread that. Sapphire does not know the difference between isolation and solitude, do I? Key ideas. Self-protection, making excuses, over-preparing, never feeling ready to take action. Keywords. Celebrating experiences and play. Meditation. Think of something that you've been putting off. A vacation, a calling of a friend, painting the house. Close your eyes and imagine yourself totally involved in that activity. Come back when you are ready. Now take action with that, much simpler. I'll read it again. Think of something that you've been putting off. A vacation, calling a friend, painting the house. Close your eyes and imagine yourself totally involved in that activity. Come back when you are ready. Now taking action will be that much simpler. Word. Valid. Yeah.
That's crazy.
You know, I brought those other two ones. I feel like I'm not even gonna pull from there. But what I will leave you guys off on is, because I did show you this poem book, and I'm gonna do the thing. I'm gonna do the thing, and we'll leave you off on that. And also, real quick, a little plug, little sneak peek. I wanted to bring my candles for my line, Ashes and Herbs. So you guys are getting the first look at it. these are the new sun and moon candles that are getting dropped soon. So if you could smell them, like I wish y'all could smell them through here, but definitely check out ashesandherbs.com. And yeah, they're incredible. I'm really excited, really, really, really excited to make them. And feel free if you want to check them out. But like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with them. I'm not going to lie. Like, they're like,
Wow, this is really good.
I literally, like, I was a mad scientist when it came to, like, making these scents. I sat down and was just, like, it was a lot. It was a lot, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I'm, like, obsessed with them. But
Nah, you did a great job.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. And, like, the explanation of what they are, essentially, it's just to invoke different things out of yourself. The masculine, the feminine, the yin, the yang, you know, the sun, the moon, right? So, anyway. What is it that we need to hear to conclude this podcast? The new normal. We live in a world where you're more likely to be questioned if you're kind than if you are rude. It's as if rudeness has become something that we accept or expect, but kindness makes us wonder what the person's hidden intentions are. It's deeply saddening and hypocritical that one who chooses kindness has to question his or her intentions and wonder how others will perceive this kindness. What is even sadder is that the world has come to accept this as a norm. We raise our children to believe that goodness only exists in them and the outer world is out to get them. We want to protect them, so we warn them. From our point of view, we are doing the right thing. In reality, we are setting them up to see the worst in people, and consequently, we are scarring them from taking any risk. When we silence their vulnerability and their ability to trust others, we rob them of the beauty of connecting with other human beings.
That's deep.
Yeah. The other one is too, but I don't even feel like that's for everybody. But like, that's like an intense ass title, right? Keep y'all on your toes, mind your business. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in with us, and check us out next week. It's also going to be a Tuesday podcast. So yeah, thank you for having this new time with us and this new experience. Thank you so much for pulling up.
Of course.
It's so good to see you and chat with you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your life experience, and for being vulnerable on here and being able to like put yourself out there, you know, for yourself.
Thank you for allowing the space for it.
Of course. It's an honor to hold the space. So yeah, thank you guys. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.